You have to try a crit build. The Stinger Spear is viable late game. I've had more than a few people suggest I try out a full crit build in Grounded, so last week I decided to give it a go. I wasted 3 hours and hundreds of resources maxing out a Stinger Spear and Black Ant Armor only to find out what I already knew. The Stinger Spear sucks in Grounded. In this video I'll show you why so you can save yourself the time and frustration I put myself through. Before we begin, I want to thank Handsome Ivan, Lyndon Dade, Mateo Solis, Matthew Campbell, Stephen Van, the Overseer 91, and all my other channel members and patrons for helping make videos like this possible. You can support the channel today by becoming a member or patron via the links in the description below. Thanks again to all my channel members and patrons. Let's get started. So let's start off by talking about what crit is, just in case you're not sure. We're going to get through this real quick for those of you that already know what it is. Crit basically means you're going to do extra damage. There are two things you want to worry about, crit damage and crit chance. The crit damage, I believe, is double, so when you get a crit hit, it should do double the amount of damage that you're supposed to be getting with that attack. The crit chance is the chance that you're going to be getting a crit damage. Now, by default, you're going to have a 0% crit chance. You can increase it in several ways. Number one's going to be Coup de Grace. So Coup de Grace has two phases, and you'll see here it does plus critical hit chance. Phase 1 is 10%, I believe. Phase 2 is 25%. So if you're using Coup de Grace, you'll be doing, and the Phase 2 you'll be doing 25% extra. You have a 25% chance of getting a critical hit. In addition to that, you eat certain foods. So as an example, the Spider Slider and the Larvania also give you plus critical hit chance. I believe this is plus 10% as well. So combined with the Coup de Grace, that will get us to plus 35%. And then you also have the Stinger Spear, which has built-in plus critical hit chance, which again, I believe is 10%. And the Black Ant Armor also has built-in a couple things. Crit after block means after you block, you have a chance of increasing your crit chance. And then if you go the sleek route, you'll get crit hyper stamina. This isn't going to give you a better crit chance. It just gives you a chance of regenerating stamina after a crit. Now, for the testing purposes here, we're not going to use the Black Ant Armor because this only gives you a chance. So if I look at my statuses here, it's going to say critical hit, where it's going to say, where is it? Crit after block. Blocking attacks has a chance to increase your critical hit chance. So this is not 100% guaranteed. That means it's not like a flat percentage of it's going to do it. It's just random. Whereas with the other things, they're a flat percentage. So there's a 25% chance here. I don't know what it is after the block. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a different armor just so we can make sure we get the same results. So in this case, I'm just going to use the Antlion Armor because that's what I typically use. Antlion Armor is not going to have any bonuses in terms of the crit. This basically uses Sizzle Protection and Thirst Rate, even though it's a sleek route. It will only be really beneficial if you're actually using bows. But in this case, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be eating the Spider Slider. So with the Coup de Grace, this is going to give us 35% crit chance if we do not have the Stinger Spear equipped. If we do have the Stinger Spear equipped, it should give us a 45% crit chance. I believe those are the numbers. Unfortunately, the game doesn't tell us, so we're just going off basically lots of testing that I've done and other people have done to come up with these percentages. So what we're going to do is we're going to consume this real quick. And then we're going to go out and we're going to test this. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to test the Stinger Spear against a couple of enemies. We're going to test, and the Spicy Coltana in this case, we're going to test them against Roly-Polies and Black Ants. The reason we're doing that is we're in the upper yard, and basically what I was told was this is actually a really good late game build. You can use this anywhere in the yard, but what I want to do is show you why that's not the case. Before we do that real quick, let's take a look at the data cards here. So these cards you get by peeping the enemies, and what I want to do is quickly go through and show you why that is specifically the Stinger Spear is not that great. And what we're going to be doing is looking at the bulkier enemies. So over here, you're going to see that we have weaknesses and resistances. Obviously, if an enemy has a weakness, it will take extra damage. If it was resistant, it will take less damage. So in this case, the Stinger Spear does stabbing damage. So you'll see against Ladybugs, they have a resistance. That means you're only going to do 75% damage. Against the Roly-Poly and the Sickly Roly-Poly, you'll see here, they both have a resistance to stabbing. So basically any tanky enemies. The soldier ant, the black ants, and the black soldier ants and the black ants are weak to stabbing, so it's good against them. We're going to skip over some of these smaller ones. The ladybird larvae are also weak to stabbing, so it's good against them. And also, I believe, actually, but now let's get to the tankier enemies. Antlions are resistant to stabbing. The robots are all resistant to stabbing. All the infected enemies are resistant to stabbing. And essentially what this is doing is trying to stop you from using arrows, because any bow that you use uses an arrow, and the arrow does stabbing damage. All the spiders in the game are resistant to stabbing, including the broodmother. They're all resistant to stabbing, so you're going to be doing less damage. The termites are like the ants. They do take extra damage from stabbing, so it would be good against them. Although you'll probably notice that the bows actually, you actually, by DPS, the bows are actually going to do more damage, especially if you use the crow crossbow. The other things, the black ox beetle is resistant to stabbing. The ladybird is resistant to stabbing. Green shield bug is weak to stabbing, and the infected wolf spider is resistant to stabbing. The green shield bug, honestly, you could use, if you want to get face to face with it, you could just use the Stinger Spear, although it's much easier to just use a bow. and completely cheese it. These are the harmless enemies. We're not going to worry about them. So basically the gist of this is most of the tankier enemies, the harder enemies, especially the ones in the upper yard, the black ox beetles, the roly-polies, the ladybirds, they are all resistant to stabbing, which means if you're using a stabbing weapon against them, you're going to be doing 25% less damage than if you were using any weapon that they were either had no resistance to or they were weak to. Actually, in the case of if they were weak to it, so as an example, the roly-poly here, if you used a busting, you'd be doing 25% more damage. So using a busting weapon is going to give you 50% more than using a stabbing. So that's just something to think about as we go out and do this testing. So what we're going to do is we're going to find ourselves a couple of roly-polies. There should hopefully be some down in the yard here. And I've consumed my food, and we have the right armor on, right? So we're going to start off by using the Stinger Spear. We're going to see how many hits it takes to kill it. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the math, but essentially what I figured out was that the Stinger Spear is going to end up doing, or the Spicy Coltana, especially against Black Ants, is going to end up doing, I believe it was like 2.2 times more damage than the Stinger Spear. Now, the Stinger Spear does have one benefit. It does have a faster attack speed. So if we look at the Stinger Spear has, I believe, a 7 attack speed. The Spicy Coltana only has 3.5. Now, you might think, well, that's double, so it's probably going to be about the same. The speed, this attack speed here, from my testing, is not linear. As an example, when I tested the Crow Crossbow, which has a 0.5 versus the Insect Bow, which is at a 3.5, it only seemed like the Insect Bow was shooting about 1.8 times faster, not 7 times faster. So the difference here of this 3.5 and the 7 is not a double, and it's probably about half that. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but it's definitely not double. Even if it was in the case of the black soldier ants, the Spicy Coltana is still going to outperform because it's just going to, because it's going to do more damage. So let's go down here. We're going to fight this roly-poly first, see how many hits it takes to kill it. And it should be pretty simple because honestly, the roly-polies, you can basically just circle them. And we'll see if we get lucky with crits. You'll know if it's a crit if it does the little spark. Now we're going to make sure we hit it only in its body, because hitting it in its legs will give you extra damage. So we're going to try to hit it in its body. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We're out of stamina after 23 hits, and hopefully it doesn't hit us. 24. Now it's going to start healing. So we're not going to be able to count. Basically, you can see how long this is taking because the Stinger Spear, even at level 9 Mighty, does such little damage. It is stunning them quite a bit. So when it crits, it can stun them, as you can see here. So you can kind of stun lock them, but you're going to see in a second when I go up to the upper yard. And I have max stamina. Well, max stamina from the... I have buff lungs on, as well as... I'm using a medium armor here, so I have like a decent armor. I don't have my stamina maxed out with milk molars, but I have a ton of stamina, so I usually can get tons of hits in. One other thing you're going to notice is, and this thing's just straight up out healing me, and now I'm getting damaged by this, so let's kill this real quick with the mint mace. Actually, they might fight. Get rid of this guy real quick. This is taking like entirely too long, and if this guy hits me, he'll probably do a ton of damage to me. He's already, and as you can see, he just almost wrecked me there, so let's try to kill him by just circling him here. This is just taking forever and a day. Even with these crits, it's taking forever. Now, I guess the question is this viable? Maybe. I mean, it did kill him, and I only got hit by it one time, but you could see how long it took. Now let's go over here, and hopefully there's another one over here. If not, there's one up top. We're going to fight it with a Spicy Coltana. Now, the roly-polies are actually resistant to slashing damage, which is what the Spicy Coltana does, but they are weak to spicy damage, which is built into the Coltana, so that kind of cancels out. That was definitely helpful there, this crits proc. So here we have the roly-poly here. So let's see how many hits it takes to kill it. We're going to, again, hitting it in its feet is going to do more damage. I tried to avoid that the last time because it would kill it too fast. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're out of stamina somehow. 7, 8 hits. I don't even know if any of those crit. So it took 8 hits, far less time using the Spicy Coltana than the full crit build because, and the reason for this is very simple. If you look at the two weapons, the Stinger Spear maxed out here is doing 3 damage, even with the Mighty Path. The Spicy Coltana is doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. So when you apply, even though you get the extra 10% crit chance from the Stinger Spear, mathematically and DP, and even though it's attacks faster, you're just going to do far, far more damage using a tier 3 weapon. In this case, I'm using the Spicy Coltana. Honestly, it's going to be even worse if you use the Club of the Mother Demon, because the Club of the Mother Demon does even more damage. And the Salt Morningstar, the Mint Mace, even the crow crossbow, which is a tier 2. So the crow crossbow is going to end up doing more damage, and it's also going to be safer to use because you're going to be able to fight at range. So using the crow crossbow that by default does 4.5 damage versus the 1.5 of the stinger spear, even though it has that crit chance built into it, you can put on the marksman's cap to get extra damage from the bow. You can use feather arrows or splinter arrows to get additional damage. You can use the super sync arrows if you want to get super damage. So all in all, the stinger spear is just not that great. But what I want to do is I'm going to run up here real quick, and we'll skip ahead. I want to show it to you against the black ants up here, just to show you that how bad it is. Okay, so I'm up by the shed here, up in the little deck area in front of it, and what we're going to do is we're going to be fighting some soldier ants. The reason we're going to be fighting black soldier ants is because, just to show, they are actually resistant to slashing damage. The regular soldier ants, I believe, are not. So in this case, the regular soldier ants are weak to stabbing and spicy. The regular black ants are weak to stabbing and spicy, and the black soldier ants are weak to stabbing and spicy, but they are resistant to slashing. So in this case, the spicy coltan is actually going to do less damage than it would against the regular black ants because they're actually resistant to it. One other thing you may have noticed here is this thing is basically completely destroyed already. In addition to the fact that it does less damage, it needs to be repaired quite frequently. The stinger spear just breaks so quick. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go in, and I should still have my status effects because I did eat the food, and we still got our status effects here from the food. So we're going to go in here, we're going to fight a couple of soldier ants and just see how long it's going to take to kill them with both the stinger spear as well as the spicy coltana. So let's try to aggro this guy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Look. So that wasn't too bad. Now you guys can get out of here because you're... But let's get rid of this guy. We gotta find ourselves. This guy's probably taking damage. No, he hasn't taken damage. We're gonna kill the little ones first. All right, let's just clean this up real quick. You can see these guys are really not a threat. I'm just trying to get a single soldier ant by itself. So this guy should have full health. We're gonna block. We're gonna give it a second. We're gonna hit this guy to get rid of him. I just want to get a clean fight against this guy. We're just gonna block so we don't. No bonuses from perfect blocking. So you're going to see 1, 2, 3, nearly dead. If we would have got a crit, it would have died in a single combo. So you could just see, even with, I think we got crits with the stinger spear. It's just so much faster to just use a spicy coltana in this case. And with them being resistant to slashing, if you use a different tier 3 weapon, like if you use the club of the mother demon, it will be even faster to kill them because it does more damage, especially if you went the spicy route. So let's just do it one more time with the spear here. Let's see if we get how many crits we get. Just block the first attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look how many. We're having to do full out, lots of hits. We didn't get any crits there. Oh, we got the black soldier and gold card. Super. That's the first gold card I've gotten in forever. So basically, I just wanted to show you, is it viable? I mean, I'm going to be honest here. You could pretty much, I don't want to go as far as saying you could just use a pebblet and complete the entire game. If you're good enough and you can perfect block and you just have a shield, you pretty much could beat the entire game using whatever you really wanted to. But in terms of actual playing it and without min-maxing it, but just actually just trying to use things that make sense and are going to help you just win your fights faster, the stinger spear is only going to be viable super early on when you're fighting against the weak enemies that are kind of the weak enemies that basically could just punch out with your fist or use a rock against, the red ants, stuff like that. But even in that case, it's just going to be you're going to be better off using a sprig bow plus any of the bows, sprig bow even included, with arrows, because you can basically just take no damage to your armor and just sit back and pick things off with it. So in my opinion right now, unless this thing gets buffed, I would not recommend using the stinger spear. Let me know if you have different results in the comments down below. Like I said, I tested it for, I spent about 3 hours the other day on stream upgrading this thing, only to find out that it and the black ant armor are completely underwhelming, as I expected them to be. I should have just did it in a custom mode and not wasted all my resources, but you know what? It doesn't matter. It gave me something to do. We tested it out. I showed it here. Like I said, just to summarize, most of the tankier enemies in the game, all the spiders, the roly-polies, the black ox beetles, those are all going to be resistant to stabbing anyway. So using the Stinger Spear, you're going to be getting only 75% damage instead of the normal 100% damage. And it's just better to use the tier 3 weapons in those cases. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Hopefully it'll save you some time. If you did find it helpful, make sure to hit the like button and consider subscribing for more videos just like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.